I had an article published recently about my love of the Leica Q2 Monochrom, and I had a lot of great feedback and a few questions too. The main question was, what settings do I use? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you and share my tips on how I get great black and white photos. If you're new to this channel, I'm Simon Byrne, a professional photographer and filmmaker, and an amateur one too. I make my living with my camera, but it's also a hobby, and I tend to keep the two separated usually. I bought this Leica Q2 Monochrom 14 months ago for my hobby, just for fun, a toy, if you will, because I wanted to pursue black and white photography again. Although recently I've been using it on client shoots and getting good results. So, settings and setup. I have a yellow filter and a mist filter permanently attached to this lens. Now, some may think that's crazy, putting two pieces of glass in front of this fantastic Summilux 28mm lens. Well, it works for me and I get great results. So many people get wrapped up in image quality, particularly the pursuit of the sharpest possible image. Well, I don't really worry about those things. They're not that important to me. The yellow filter gives me a little bit of contrast. It's very subtle. It lightens skin tones a little bit and darkens cooler tones. So if I'm shooting something with complementary colors, warm tones, cool tones, I'm going to get a little bit of contrast, but not too much. If I want to enhance my contrast, then I pop on this lovely little red filter, and I use that when it's bright blue skies, sunny days. That really works very nicely. Makes the blue skies dark and things pop. I started using a mist filter on top of my yellow filter because I wanted to take off that sharp clinical edge that most modern lenses have. I've been using a mist filter on all my modern lenses, and I must admit the Summilux is the least clinical of modern lenses. It's got quite a nice natural organic look to it, but still the mist filter works for me. It just softens things up. It gives a particularly nice film-like look to my images. If I'm shooting something contrasty with lots of bright light, it gives me a really nice highlight roll-off, nice soft highlights, and I like that look. It's just my preference. My goal with this camera from day one was to shoot the type of photos that I used to do back in the film days with Ilford HP5. Very grainy and contrasty, and that's my preference for my personal work, and this camera allows me to do that. So my settings for this camera, even during the day in bright light, is having the ISO at least 1600. When the light's a little bit lower, I'll crank it up to 6400. And the reason for this is I can have my shutter speed at around 1,000 thousandths of a second, and I can have my aperture between f8 and f11. So why do I do that? Well, having a fast shutter speed allows me to capture people when they're moving around or I'm moving around and get them sharp. And having an aperture of f8 to f11 allows me to focus manually and zone focus. Working that way lets me just concentrate on capturing the moment. I don't need to worry about focusing and depth of field and all of that stuff. I typically have my distance set to about 6 feet. So that way I don't have to worry about anything and I can just react when I see somebody coming towards me. And I like to typically shoot when people are between 5 to 8 feet away. And that's why I shoot f8 to f11, because that gives me plenty of depth of field at that distance. That's pretty much my standard setup for street photography. To me, there's two types of great photography, or two ways to pursue great photography. When you can't control the lighting or the situation, you can only work with what you've got and react to it. And street photography is the best example of this. You need to be aware of your surroundings and have a good understanding of what's going on. You need to anticipate a scene that's potentially unfolding in front of you and act really quickly to capture that right moment, that special moment, that decisive moment, as Cartier-Bresson said. Hence the setup I've just mentioned. This works. So to create a great photo in this scenario, it's about what you see, how you see, and your skill level with the tool that you've got in hand. In this setup, in this manual setup, you actually have to know what you're doing. You have to work. You don't just point and click and hope that you're going to get some miraculous photo at the end of it. So when I see street photography videos of guys just walking around spraying and praying, hoping they're going to get something, well, that's not what I'm talking about here. There needs to be a point to the photo. We'll just leave it at that for now. For me, the best kind of photography is when you're in control, when you can control the lighting in particular. Great lighting makes a stunning photo. Lighting is everything. It's that simple, in my opinion. I like to take lights with me wherever I can, and traditionally for me that's been a speed light with a transmitter and receiver, so I can do off-camera flash. On-camera flash, let's not go there. I've been able to control harsh midday sun this way to great effect. I started using lighting with my Leica Q2 Monochrom recently on client projects, and for this I've been taking around LED lights with me. Now I need power to plug them in. Of course you can buy battery operated ones as well, but if I'm going to go that route, I'd rather go back to the speed light option because it's just a lot more, well, it's smaller, lighter, more convenient. I usually carry the big LED lights that you plug in when I'm driving somewhere. I just throw them in the car. These images were shot with plug-in LED lights just this week. The other thing I like to do is work with natural available light. And I've been doing a lot of that lately, particularly with this camera. You can still be in control by simply placing your subject in the right spot by a window, for example. I positioned both of these people in these shots just in the right place. It just takes a few moments and most people don't mind. These images were recently taken with my yellow filter and my mist filter, and I was in complete control. Ultimately, it's this control that makes a great photo. I could make some detailed videos about some of the things that I touched on today, but what do you think? What do you think I should talk about? Do you have any questions you'd like me to answer? I'd love to know, so do leave a comment. And please give this video a like. It helps this poor little old channel out with the algorithm. Thanks for watching.